The teachings of Rabbi Ephraim Sprecher, Dean of Students at Diaspora Yeshiva on Mount Zion, Jerusalem.
Today we speak about the Parsha of the Meraglim. Alfie, we'll see how the Parsha of the week always speaks to current events. It never fails. The Parsha of the Meraglim, the spies, very difficult what went on over here by the spies. Rashi says, what is the connection between the Parsha's Meraglim and Parsha's Miriam? Why is it next door? So Rashi says these Rishoyim saw what happens when you speak Lashon Hara. Miriam spoke Lashon Hara, and she was what? Afflicted with saras, and yet these Rishoyim didn't learn, and they spoke Lashon Hara about the Pisgat Zev. Remote. So Rashi calls them Rishoyim. You hear this, Reb Nochem? Rishoyim. Later on, Rashi says, Ksherim Hoya. Make up your mind. Are they Rishoyim or are they Tzadikim? Rashi calls them Rishoyim, Avram, he calls them Ksherim. You ever meet a kosher Russia? David, a kosher Russia?
No.
No. So what's the message? Rishoyim, Ksherim, were they righteous or were they wicked? Rashi seems to contradict himself. What's the answer, Alfie? Current events. What happens to good people when they get appointed political leaders? What happens to them? They start slinging mud at each other.
No.
And they start cursing each other.
No.
This is what Rashi is saying. Current events, they were ksherim. They were righteous people. But as soon as they got a position of leadership, they lost it. Power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolute. What a powerful message of current events, David. Mamish current events is just unbelievable. Good people that would never dream of slandering each other, all of a sudden you get a leadership position, they go bananas. This is what happened to what? To the Meraglim, unfortunately. The Meraglim. Now, one of the Meraglim was a good guy. Two of them were two guys, Yeshua and Kalev, right? Kalev. Isn't that a strange name for a tzaddik, Kalev?
Yeah.
Kalev means dog. David, isn't that bizarre? This great person, and you call him a dog.
Kalev.
Kalev, it's the same word. Oh, David stole my thunder. David stole my thunder. He said that why was he called Kalev? For the same reason a dog is called Kelev. Kelev means kuloi lev. A Kelev means kuloi lev. A dog is man's best friend. A dog is totally dedicated to his master.
Absolutely.
And Kalev ben Yefuna was totally dedicated to his master. So Kalev, Alfie, same spelling as dog. If you look at a dog, you see how loyal a dog is to his master. You give his life for his master, a dog. That's how loyal we have to be to our master. Who taught that? Kalev ben Yefuna. And that's why this great tzaddik was called
I don't think it's true for Yorkies.
Kalev. Right? Kuloi lev. Kuloi lev. In this week's Parsha, you learn that you go to a tzaddik's grave to daven. Vayovay at Chevron. He came to Chevron. Rashi wonders, it says they all went to spy out the land, and Vayovay at Chevron, he alone came to Chevron. What happened to the other guys? So Rashi says, David, he alone broke away from the pack. He went to Chevron to Mispalel on the Morat HaMachpelah. Kalev ben Yefuna. This is the source for going to a tzaddik's grave, this week's Parsha. Vayovay at Chevron, Kalev levado holach sham, to daven kivrei avot, that he should not fall in with what? With the spies. If he would not have gone to be mitpalel to the kivrei avot, he would have what? Joined the evil conspiracy. That's how great the pressure was to what? Slander the land of Israel. It's very bizarre. We'll have to talk about that. But this is the source, Alfie, for going to daven kivrei avot. You're not davening to the dead guy. You're davening to Kadosh Baruch Hu in the schus of the tzaddik buried there. So he went, Hashem should give him the strength in the schus of the avot that he should not be pressured and fall in with the evil conspiracy of the spies. Chevron. Kalev. Another reason why he's called Kalev. The Meraglim saw so many problems here. Superficially, Alfie, there are problems here. The great Rav Guspin Zatzal would say, if you want to make successful Aliyah, you have to bring 2 suitcases.
Why?
One filled with money and one filled with savlanut. Rav Guspin Zatzal, he would say that. So there are superficial problems here, Alfie. The Meraglim were deceived by that. You ever look at a dog? A dog is always digging beneath the surface. Kalev ben Yefuna said, yes, the problems here, they're superficial problems, but if you dig beneath the surface, you look behind the headlines, there's so much good here. Kalev, the dog is always digging. Don't be fooled by the superficial problems. Look at the Kalev. You got to dig beneath the surface, Avi, to reveal the hidden good in this country. There's so much good here. You just got to dig. Kalev, it's incredible. What's in a name? But now we have to talk about, these were great people. Ksherim, Rosh B'nai Yisrael, all of them were chief rabbis. Avram, it says Rosh B'nai Yisrael Hema. They were all chief rabbis. That's what the verse says. So, how could things go so terribly wrong? They didn't give God the benefit of the doubt. They said a land that devours its inhabitants. They were not lying, Abraham. They said wherever we went, we saw the Ebola plague. People were dropping dead. Why did God do that? God did it, says Rashi, l'tovah, that the KGB and the FBI shouldn't be tracking these guys. They're busy with the Ebola plague. So that's why God brought the plague. So instead of being dan lekavschus, they done it the other way. You always have to give HaKadosh Baruch Hu and your fellow Jew the benefit of the doubt. So God made the plague to protect these guys, Avram, from the FBI or the CIA. They would be arrested for espionage, but they're busy with the plague, but they didn't see it that way. They didn't see it that way. But these are great people. Rosh B'nai Yisrael Hema. What went wrong? What went terribly wrong? So the Zohar says something incredible. These were great people. They had frume cheshbonos. Who said, Avram, the road to hell is paved with good intentions? Who said that?
Who said that?
Huh? They had noble intentions, Daniel. They had noble intentions.
Shakespeare.
They said as follows. Shakespeare, thank you.
Shakespeare.
The road to hell is paved with good intentions. The Zohar says they had frume cheshbonot. How do you say that in English, David? Frume cheshbonot.
Religious excuses.
Religious excuses. They said here in the Midbar, we have the man, angel food. We're eating God's own food. You come to Pisgat Zev, no more man. You have to wait online at the Cafe Neman or where? Angel's Bakery or maybe what's the other? Berman's? We're going to lose the man. That awesome spiritual experience of eating angel's food. Now I have to go to Angel's Bakery or whatever. What else do we have in the Midbar? We have the Be'er Shel Miriam. The holy water of Miriam's. You come to Pisgat Zev, I mean to where? Talpiot? Talpiot. You don't have no Be'er Shel Miriam. You have to drink Sprite and Zero. Here you have the Ananei HaKavod. The magic clouds of glory. Alpha, you come to Israel, no more magic clouds of glory. So they said it's better to remain in the Midbar, not to forfeit those three supernatural gifts, the man, the Be'er, and Ananei HaKavod. Says the Sfas Emet, the Meraglim were guilty again of not giving God the benefit of the doubt. There are three mitzvahs that follow the Meraglim disaster, catastrophe that brought on the Jewish people. We have Tisha B'Av today because of the Meraglim. They came back with a wicked report. When was it? Tisha B'Av. Right after the Meraglim disaster, Alfie, there are three mitzvahs. The mitzvah of what? Chala. The mitzvah of what? Nisa Chayayin. and the mitzvah of tzitzis. Now we know, Alfie, when the two pashas in the Torah next door, there has to be what? A strong connection. So the Sfas Emet says, Avram, why right after the Meraglim disaster does the Torah give us these three mitzvahs? Mitzvah of Chala, the mitzvah of what? Nisach Hayayin on the Mizbeach, and the mitzvah of tzitzis. Madua v'lama. Says the Sfas Emet, this is God's answer to the Meraglim. You underestimated me. You think when God removes a gift, he doesn't replace it with something better? You said there's no man in Pisgat Zev. And you're right, but there's something better, Avram. Whenever you bake bread in Ramot, and you separate challah from it, says the Zohar, you are infusing that bread or that cake with the kedusha of the man. So every bagel you eat in Israel, Avram, it's a holy bagel. Get it? Holy bagel. Free advertising. Not a joke. Through the mitzvah of what? Challah, says the Zohar, you are infusing the food of Eretz Yisrael with the kedusha of the man. And it's even better than the man. Because the man was a freebie. A handout. Welfare check. When we separate challah from the dough, we are infusing the kedusha of the man in the food. We are doing it. And when we do it, Alfie, it what? Has more value. So, therefore you have the mitzvah of what? Challah. Right after the Meraglim, this is their God's answer, God's reply to their complaint. We're losing what? Man. God says, I'll give you something better. I'll give you what? The mitzvah of challah. So every time you bite a bagel in Israel, Alfie, have in mind, according to the Zohar, Avram, you're ingesting the kedusha of what? Of the man. What else did they say? The Be'er Shal Miriam. Ezi kedusha, here we come to Eretz Yisrael, no more Be'er Shal Miriam. Avi, what do you like, Sprite or Zero? What do you like? Water? What do you like? Sprite. How can you compare Sprite to Be'er Shal Miriam? God says, I'll give you something better. When you come to the Beis HaMikdash to bring a korban, Avram, you're going to do Nisach Hayayin on the Mizbeach. The korban was accompanied by a wine libation. So the Zohar says that wine libation elevates all Zero, Pepsi, Sprite, and Coke in Eretz Yisrael with the Kedusha of what? Be'er Shal Miriam. Are we getting this? Through the mitzvah of Nisach Hayayin on the Mizbeach, all the shtiyah in Eretz Yisrael is infused with the Kedusha of what? The Be'er Shal Miriam. So next time you're having, Avi, what'd you say, Sprite? Yeah. Have in mind, you are ingesting the Kedusha of what? Be'er Shal Miriam. So says the Zohar. What else did they say? In Eretz Yisrael, there's no Anana Yaakov, Daniel. No Anana Yaakov, and they're right, but you have something better. When you wrap yourself in the tzitzis, says the Zohar, when you wrap yourself in the talit, you're being hugged by the one above even tighter. So the Meraglim, they did not give God the benefit of the doubt. They said God is removing the gift, and it's true. But when God removes a gift, he replaces it with something better. That was their fatal flaw, Avram. They didn't give God the benefit of the doubt. What a message in life. When Shem removes a gift, he replaces it with something even better. And my dear friend, Dr. David Levy, said a Gevaldi Chiddush this morning. I'm glad I came. This idea goes so far. What's God's greatest gift, Alfie? Life. But when the time comes, God removes that gift of Chai Shah and he replaces it with what? Chai Olam. David, I'm so proud of you. You the Chiddush what this man said? The ultimate gift that God gives is the gift of life. Could it be something? But when the time comes after 120, God removes that gift of Chai Shah. What does Chai Shah mean? Temporary, physical life. But he replaces it with Chaya Olam. What does Chaya Olam mean? Eternal. Everlasting, eternal life. What a message, David. That's a game changer. Whenever Hashem removes a gift, and he does, you have to have in mind he's going to replace it with something better. Sometimes you don't see it right away. Sometimes you don't see it until after 120. But that's the fatal flaw that the Meraglim were guilty of. Alfie, the greatest gift of all, the gift of life. But after 120, Hashem removes it. But he replaces it with something better. How can you compare Chaye, how do you say Chaye Sha'ah in English? Temporary life with Chaye Olam. Life everlasting. No comparison. But anyway, Chaye Sha'ah means temporary physical life. But Chaye Olam, we make the bracha, Berchat HaTorah, V'chaye Olam lo tebesachenu. God, you planted eternal life into us. Life everlasting, spiritual life. And that comes after the physical life. So again, God gives and he takes, but when he takes, he replaces it with something better. But sometimes you don't see it until what? After 120. But God says, you can trust me. The Meraglim didn't. That was their fatal flaw. Yes?
What happened to them, to the Meraglim?
They died a very horrible death. Rashi says, quotes Chazal, their tongues, it sounds like something from the Twilight Zone, their tongues hung out of their mouth till their belly button, and worms crawled from their tongues into their belly button. Sounds like the movie Alien. Horrible death. They sinned with their tongues, and the tongues was their undoing. So what is the message, David? As you so beautifully said earlier today, the message is that whenever Hashem removes a gift, he replaces it with something better.
Absolutely.
What a message in life. What a message in life. And therefore these three mitzvahs follow Avram on the heel of the Meraglim. Chala, that's the answer to the Taina Noman. Nisa Chayayin, Be'er Miriam, and when you wrap yourself in the tzitzis, you're being hugged tighter, says the Zohar, than what? Than the Ananei HaKavod. What a message, Alfie. What a message in life. Pretty amazing. So the Meraglim, it brought disaster. The people rebelled. They cried that night. God says, you're crying for nothing. I'll give you a reason to cry. And that night was ordained that all tsaros are going to come on Tisha B'Av Avram. You know, the first temple was destroyed, and the second temple was destroyed, and Beitar was destroyed when? Tisha B'Av. World War I, Tisha B'Av. Auschwitz began operating on Tisha B'Av, Auschwitz. And the worst pogroms always were Tisha B'Av. We cry for nothing. Nebuch, God says you get a reason to cry. What is that? Tit for tat, David? Dr. Levy, I don't understand. What is God being? You cried for nothing. I'll give you a reason to cry. A loving father does that. Please hear me well. But what does the Gemara in Tainus 29 mean? You guys cried for nothing. I'll give you a reason to cry. A loving parent does that. What does the Gemara mean? I'm glad you asked, Professor. I started a tremendous chiddush in your husband's name today. Hope you heard it. Chiddush nifla. Wow. Where was I? It's not tit for tat. What is it? Glad you asked. We create our own reality. We know that the Mishnah says if you want to know what's going on in the upper worlds, when we cried on Tisha B'Av, we opened up a Pandora's box. God said, it's not my fault. You guys created a reality of negativity, even though it's based on shtuyot. Sheker, does black magic work? Is there such a thing as black magic, Avram? Yeah. It depends. If you believe in it, Bilha. You, my Rebbe Rapam tells it, if you believe in it, you are making it real. Yes. God says, what do you want from me? You guys create your own reality, positive or negative. We share it with our Creator. We create and we destroy. So once you cried for nothing on Tisha B'Av, you opened up a veil of tears. God said, it's not my fault. You guys did it. It's not revenge, Avraham. Person creates his own reality, positive, or loyalenu, negative. Da mala mala, mimcha. If you want to know what's going on above, the Mishnah says in Ovot, mimcha. So we create these forces. If you believe it, even though it's shtuyot, like black magic, you're crying for nothing. You give the sheker reality. And for you, it becomes what? Real. That's just pretty incredible. What a powerful message we have to learn. The Haftorah. An amazing Haftorah from the book of Yoshua. Moshe Rabbeinu sends spies. It's a terrible disaster. How come 39 years later Yeshua ben Nun repeats that mistake? Didn't he learn from his Rebbe? He was one of the spies. Hello, it's only 39 years later. What are you going through with it? What are you sending spies for? Didn't you see the disaster it brought on Am Yisrael? So Yeshua ben Nun sends spies again. Didn't he take his spirulina Avram? It's only 39 years later. Professor, what's going on over here? And why should I care? I mean, Torah is not history, the Torah is GPS. Once Moshe sent spies, again, we create our own reality. You opened up a can of worms, you opened up a Pandora's box, you sent spies. Terrible tragedy. Now the tikkun has to come from the chet. Yeshua ben Nun had no choice. When we sent spies, we created that negative reality. That's the way to go. You sin with spies? Now, Daniel, send spies and do it my way. Da-da-da-da. Don't worry, I won't give up my day job, Daniel. Don't worry. In Yahadut, the way you sin is the way you what? Win. So he had no choice, Avram. He had to send spies. Because the tikkun has to come from the chet. I'll prove it to you, Avram. Does God need a golden mishkan with golden statues in the Holy of Holies? In the Holy of Holies, no less. Alfie, there were golden statues, lovebirds hugging each other. In the Holy of Holies, Avram, God needs golden statues in the Holy of Holies? Isn't that bizarre? What's the answer? God says the whole universe is what? My Mishkan. When you guys made a golden getchka, you guys like golden statues, right? Now take a golden statue and do it my way. Da-da-da-da. Isn't that incredible? They made a golden calf. So why is that Avodah Zarah, and why is the golden statue not Avodah Zarah, the Kruvim? Because the golden calf, God did not command. If God doesn't command it, it's Avodah Zarah. If God commanded, it's a mitzvah. So the golden Kruvim was our tikkun for the golden calf. But if it ain't broke, Alfie, don't fix it. So the Medrash says, Yovai Zov Sheve Mishkan, let the gold of the Mishkan come, v'yechaper al what? Zov Shebegel. You sin with gold, with a golden statue, and now make a golden statue, and that'll be a tikkun. But again, if we wouldn't have made in a golden statue, a golden calf disco, there'll be no need for golden lovebirds. The whole universe was supposed to be God's Mishkan. But we couldn't handle it, so God says we'll go to plan B. Avram, you know, plan A seldom works out. Even for him. By Rebbe Rapam said, plan B is oichid good. How do you say that in English? Plan B is also good. So, the whole universe can't be my Mishkan. We'll have a golden Mishkan. You like gold so much, you made a golden getchka. Now you take gold, you make golden keruvim in the Holy of Holies, and that'll be your tikkun. That's how much Hashem loves us. The way you sin is the way you win, Professor. The way you sin is the way
You win.
Thank you. That's Judaism. Just think of it. And we see this here in the Haftorah. Oh, I wish you had a book. I wish you had the book. This Rachav Hazonah, she was Madame X. Rachav Hazona. And how did she, the Talmud Megillah says that she wouldn't take any clients. It was only the royal customers. The 31 kings of Canaan were her customers. She would only service the kings of Canaan. Therefore, the Meraglim went there. Because the kings of Canaan would go there, Alfie. I think it's called pillow talk. Is that what it's called? Pillow talk? They would go to unwind. It's not a joke. The Megillah says. So the Meraglim went there. She has her pulse on what? What's going on with the 31 kings of Canaan? Because only the kingies were her customers. And how would the king go in to see her? So the Megillah said they wouldn't come through the front door because it doesn't look nice that a king has to pay for sexual services. So they would climb in through the window using the red cord. That's where the red light district comes from. I'm not joking. Look at the Haftorah. There was a red cord that hung from her window. And that's where the customers would climb up. The royal kings. Because it wouldn't look nice if it came to the front door. So it's a terrible sin. But all of a sudden this pagan, immoral woman undergoes an amazing transformation. She becomes a totally geiris, unbelievable. So the spies tell her, and how did she save the spies? She lowered them through the window using that red cord. So again, she turned her sin into a win. The very cord that she used, the red cord, where her customers came in for sexual favors, that very cord, she saved the lives of the two spies. That's what the Novi tells us in Joshua 2, Abraham. Why does the Novi tell me that? Because the way you sin is the way you win. So that red cord that was used for immoral purposes, she used that to save the lives of the spies. She lowered them out the window, red cord, and they said, when we come to conquer the land, tie that red cord in the window. And that'll be a signal that we will what? Spare you and all your family. This pagan, immoral woman becomes such a geiris that she becomes the Rebbetzin of whom? Yeshua ben Nun. Can you imagine the headlines in Jerusalem Post? Yeshua ben Nun marries former Madame. Rachav Hazonah. Couldn't he find a Beis Yaakov girl? Professor, I'm asking a question. The Gemara Megillah tells us that Yeshua ben Nun, the second greatest leader the Jewish people ever had, numero 2 in the all-time hit parade, who was his wife, Abraham? Rachav Hazonah. Not a Beis Rivka girl. What is the message, David? What is
Anybody could do tshuva.
Even Ruth.
Now, about 60 years ago, Rav Amram Blau, the head of the Natura Carta, no less, about 60 years ago, married a geiris. She was a former dance hall girl in Paris. Now I have to tell you what that means. Rav Amram Blau, geboren in the Streimel, the Weizsacken, you can look it up, Google it, 60 years ago, married a convert to Judaism. She was a former dance hall girl in Gay Paris.
Wow.
She was like 30, 40 years younger than him. And he married her.
What did she see in him?
1 minute. Now, some Hasidim were not too happy with that. You can Google it. Rebbe, Langeburt Pais, Stramel, the Wasser Socken. She was a go-go dancer in Paris. Know what he said? How dare you? Am I better than Yeshua ben Nun? That's what the great tzaddik said. How dare you? Keep your tongues. Am I better than Yeshua ben Nun? If he can do it, I can do it. Judaism, the message. What's the message, Alfie? I don't care who you were. I don't care who your parents were. What are you now? It's now or never. What a message. Judaism doesn't discriminate. Don't care what you were in the past. You can turn your life around from being Rachav Hazona to be the Rebbetzin of Israel, Yeshua ben Nun, and the great-grandmother of Yirmiyahu Hanavi. The word Megillah says she was the great-grandmother of Yirmiyahu Hanavi. And you look in Jeremiah 7, he would rebuke Israel for being immoral. You know what they said to him? Jeremiah, what are you talking about? Who was your great-grandma? You're the one to talk. See how they stecht him? The great Navi was rebuking the Yidden for being immoral. They said, Jeremiah, take a pill and lie down. Who was your great-grandma, Jeremiah? It's a terrible sin to remind someone of what? Of his former past. Terrible sin. But if you analyze what she said over here, just amazing. She says something amazing. She says, we realize that Hashem is God on the heavens above and on the earth below. A person can go from the depths of depravity to the heights of spirituality in what? In an instant. It's unbelievable, Dr. Levy. It's unbelievable. This is what Rachav Hazona is teaching us. Where did she's getting this from? Well, she read the headline, she says. We remember the splitting of the Red Sea. It was only 39 years. And she said how God wiped out Sichon and Og. That was only a year earlier. And she says, we acknowledge there is only one true God. B'shemayim emal, v'al haaretz mitachas. Now, what is so amazing about that statement? The Meraglim, again, their sin was, they said that God is only concerned with the big ticket items. Splitting of the sea, Man, Beer Shal Miriam, supernatural. But he's too busy to be involved in what's going on in behind the scenes. So in the Midbar, we're able to do it. Because God is in the supernatural. You come to Pisgat Zev, there's all problems here with Abu Mamzer and the PLO and unemployment and waiting online and the bureaucracy. There's a lot of problems here. And God won't help us because he's too busy. He's only concerned, Chava, with the supernatural razzle-dazzle. Splitting of the Red Sea, the Man, Dan Quail, Be'er Shamiram. That was a fatal flaw. This pagan woman, women has a Bina Yetera. She saw more clear than the Meraglim. She said, the same God, B'shemayim emal, v'al haaretz mitachas. The same God that's involved in the supernatural, he's down here. Yes, whatever happens down here, he's not too busy. He's involved in everything that goes on in my life. Why are you putting God in a box? So there's no splitting of the Red Sea. There's no Man in Pisgat Zev. There's something better. Whatever we do with our daily lives, God is right there. Don't limit him and put him in a box. This is what this Rachav Hazona taught us. Kodesh Baruch Hu is haaretz mitachat as well. Whatever goes on down here. And therefore the great Rav Kahana, Zecher Tzadik Yivrocha, had the schus to sit in jail with him. Maybe that's my ticket to Olam Haba. In 1969, Professor, we chained ourselves to the Soviet embassy. And July 69. I'm dating myself. And I sat in the same cell with Rav Kahana for 4 hours until Mario Biaggi put up bail for us. Mario Biaggi. They're talking about, right?
What month was that?
July 69, Alfie. So he told us there, we sat in jail 4 hours till we got bailed out. I was supposed to, it was about 60 of us. I was supposed to sit in jail with him with 4 other guys, separate cells. I remember like yesterday, when Biaggi put up bail for us. He didn't know us from Adam, but he respected Rav Kahana because Biaggi was an Italian. And he had respect for Rav Kahana. They were close friends. So as we were being fingerprinted and being released, the desk sergeant said, I'll never forget, "You dirty Jews, go back to Brooklyn. We don't need you here." That was the goodbye of the desk sergeant. "You dirty Jews, go back to Brooklyn. We don't want you here." Anyway, so this week's Parsha.
Did Rav Kahn retire?
No. We were lucky to get out of there, right?
Rabbi,
1 second. The Jewish people seem to have charata. They said, we sinned, we want to make aliyah. Remember, God says you're all going to die in the midbar. You're all going to die in the midbar. We sinned, we want to do tshuva. God tells them, Al ta'alu, ki ein Hashem bekir bechem. But Billah, they said ki chatanu. They said ki chatanu. Nothing stands in the way of what? Tshuva. So what does God want from them? Ruth, what does God want from them? If I wouldn't have been in jail, I wouldn't have heard this. July 69, never forgot it.
What Parsha?
This week's Parsha. This week's Parsha. The end of June, I think it was. I think it was the end of June, slicha. It must have been June, okay. It was 69, it was a long time ago. It was, I think, the end of June. It was this week's Parsha. Oh, this week's Parsha, June, not July. It was June, this week's Parsha, Alfie.
This is a leap year.
You forgive me, it's been many years. I was 19 then.
Wow.
So this week's Parsha. And he said, why did God pay to go to jail just to hear this?
This is what Rabbi Kahn
Makana said. He asked, Al Talu, Ki ein Hashem bekir bechem. Why did God say, what does God want more than anything, Daniel? We should make aliyah. And here he says, after their sin and they have charata, God says, Al Talu. Why did God say that? I'm glad you asked. He says, Ki ein Hashem bekir bechem. In Israel, if you don't feel God in your kishka, if you don't feel God is in your gut, involved in all the nitty-gritty of your life, if you don't feel that, al ta'alu, you don't belong here. It's not a punishment. These people show that they didn't believe that God is in their kishkis. They believe that God is in the supernatural big-ticket items. They couldn't relate. God is concerned what happens to me behind closed doors. Does he really care what goes on in my little life? He's too busy. That's what they thought. So, Al ta'alu ki ein Hashem bekir bechem. You don't feel God in your kishkis. If you don't feel God in your gut, then you don't belong here. It's not a punishment. You'll never make it here. Hear the great Rav Kahana Zatzal. It's not a punishment. They just didn't have what it takes, Alvin. They were raised on miracles, supernatural razzle-dazzle. They couldn't relate that God is going to relate to them in Pisgat Zev, waiting online in the what? In the Mishkar Avodah, or waiting in line to get a Ravkav, or what? To pay the electric bill or the Arnona bill. They send you here and they send you there and they send you there. Come back tomorrow, Mishra Klita. Right? We're closed today. Come back tomorrow. What are you talking about, right? If you don't feel God in your kishka, you won't make it here. It's not a punishment. Never forget that, Professor. June or July 69. Parsha Shelach Lecha.
Must have been June.
And that must have been
This is a
June.
leap year. It can't
Okay?
be
So it's probably June. Okay? Forgive me, it's been many years. Okay? But this is what he said, and wow.
When did he
And
make
it's so
Aliyah?
true,
When
what?
did he make Aliyah after that? He made Aliyah.
He made Aliyah shortly after that. I made Aliyah, I'm thinking, in the early 70s. This was 69. So that's just pretty amazing. The Rabbeinu Tam says something amazing, Avram. Rabbeinu Tam, you heard of him? Rashi's grandson. Anybody here remember Meir Koch? He used to go around saying, how am I doing, how am I doing? I remember that. You remember Meir Koch? You don't, right? Meir Koch. You know, Meir Koch never got married. No. Because then his wife would be a Kochke. No, he never got married, really. He never got married. Right? His wife would be a Kochke, right? So he said, how am I doing, how am I doing? This also heard from Rav Kahana Zechel Tzag in the jail, in the jail. Oh, what you learn in jail. Professor, what you learn in jail. So he said, if you want to know how you're doing in Hashem's book. So Rabbeinu Tam says, if you have the schus to do a mitzvah, that the majority of frum Yidden for some reason don't do that mitzvah. If you do a mitzvah that's neglected by other frum Jews, and you do that mitzvah, that's a sign that you're getting a very good grade. How am I doing in Hashem's report card? The mitzvah of Aliyah, most from Jews don't do it for whatever reason, right? They don't do it. So Rabbeinu Tam said, if we have the schus to do a mitzvah which is neglected by other from Yidden, and we have the schus to do that mitzvah, Alfie, like Aliyah, that's a sign that we're getting a grade A in God's book. So said Rabbeinu Tam, quoted by Rav Kahana Zechat Tzaddik Levracha. Shem Yocham Damo. That's pretty amazing. Avram, it's pretty amazing, huh? So, Baruch Hashem, we should cherish the fact that we have the schus to make Aliyah. And other Jews, for whatever reason, whatever reason, they don't live here. So that's something to think about. Something to think about, right? As we approaching elections again, right, Avram? We're approaching elections again, right? The Meraglim, Moshe sent them lotur et Eretz Canaan. Lotur. Maybe the English word tour comes from lotur. Lotur. Unkala says la'alala. The month is called Elul. From here, la'alala. Lotur means to investigate and to examine. So Moshe sent them to investigate and examine Pisgat Zev. But the tafkid of the month of Elul, Avram, la'alala, is to investigate and examine the guy in the mirror, which is a very painful process. Before you know it, right? The holidays are coming up fast, right? You have Tammuz, Avram, and then you have Av. What does Av stand for? Elul Ba. Av stands for Elul Ba. I don't want to scare you. Elul Ba. Ready or not, Av. Elul Ba. Elul's coming. That's right. That's pretty amazing, right? Now it's amazing. Where do you learn out that you need a minyan? Chava. Rashi in this week's Parsha, God says, how long will I tolerate this evil congregation? That's what God says. Says Rashi, Elu maragli mikan le'eda shiasara. The evil congregation, how many were they? 10. The 2 guys were good. Eda hara, the evil congregation, is referring to the 10 bad guys. Rashi says, from here you learn, it's not a Rashi, it's a Gemara, from here you learn that in order to have a minyan, you need what? 10. Isn't that bizarre? Why don't you learn a minyan from 10 Moshe Feinsteins? From Tzadikim. Dafke from Rishoyim, these guys are Eda Hara. So the source for having a minyan is 10 wicked Jews. Why is that the source? Says Moshe Feinstein, Avram, what's the answer? To prove that even if they're wicked, if there are 10 Jews there, the Shekhinah is there. The Shekhinah is there. So Dafke, the source for a minyan of 10 Jews to say, Omen Yehi Shmei Rabbah, where the Shekhinah is there, the source is not 10 Tzadikim, it's 10 Rishoyim. That if 10 Jews are together, even though they're wicked, the Shekhinah is there. Isn't that incredible? So why do you have a minyan? Rabbeinu Bachai explains. The Meraglim, those 10 guys made a terrible Chilul Hashem. What's the Tikkun Mindel for Chilul Hashem? Kiddush Hashem. So we get together, Amen Yehi Shmei Rabbah. So we have 10 guys for the 10 spies. The 10 spies made a terrible Chilul Hashem. When they slandered Pisgat Zev, you speak against Israel, who are you speaking against? God. Be very careful what you say about Israel. Very careful. People complain about the toilet paper or their bureaucracy. You have to be very careful. Very careful. So they made a terrible Chilul Hashem. So Rabbeinu Bachai says, so we have 10 guys together for a minyan. Amen Yehi Shmei Rabbah. We are making what? How do you fix a Chilul Hashem? Kiddush. But Rabbeinu Bachai says, how come women don't need a minyan? Mendel, you sitting now? Because if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Rabbeinu Bachai said this before women's lib in the 1000s. Some say Rabbeinu Bachya. Some say Rabbeinu Bachya. Some say Rabbeinu Bachai. What do you say, Daniel? Tomato or tomato? I say tomato. Some call him Rabbeinu Bachya. Rabbeinu Bachai. He says, therefore, women don't need a minyan. We need a minyan because we accepted the slander of the spies. So we made that Chil Hashem by believing the slander of the spies. So we need 10 guys to be metaken the Chil Hashem by Kiddush Hashem. Since you ladies never accepted the slander of the spies, if it ain't broke, Chava.
Don't fix it.
So therefore, you ladies don't need a minyan. You get the Shechina one-on-one. See, the women off the wall, they're making a big mistake. We need 10 guys to get the Shechina. You ladies get the Shechina one-on-one. You don't need a minyan.
Because why?
Because the minyan, says Rabbeinu Bachai, is a tikkun for the Chet HaMaraglim. 10 for 10. Since women never accepted the slander of the Maraglim, so they don't need a minyan to fix it. They never broke it. So they don't need a minyan. If a woman makes a minyan, David, she's saying she's no better than a man. Why do you want to be moitzi las on yourself? How do you say that in English? Why do you want a bad rap? You guys don't need a minyan. You ladies don't. You didn't sin with the Tamaraglim. The decree of death didn't fall on this generation. The Parsha, all men between 20 and 60, what? Died. What about the women? No. 600,000 widows came to Pisgat Zev.
Not a macho game.
600,000 widows. Women didn't sin with the Maraglim. They didn't sin with the Egel either. So therefore, they don't need a minyan. Maraglim diminished covered Shemayim by the slander, they need a tikkun. Women didn't sin with the spies, so they don't need the tikkun of a minyan, as we do. That's pretty incredible. Please hear me well. I'm about to tell you, David, a game changer. The Dor Deya, the Midbar, God spoke to them face to face, right? That's what it says in Deuteronomy 5. Face to face did God speak to you. There you had Dan Quayle, the Mun, the Bear Miriam, supernatural miracles, clouds all over the place. Tehillim 78 says something incredible. Vayechal b'hevel yameim. They ended their days with hevel. How do you say hevel in English?
Vanity.
Garnished. No, hevel means
Vanity.
nothing.
Nothing.
Hevel avola means nothing.
Nothing. Vanity.
They had a Nana Yaakov, they had the man, the Ershel Miriam. God spoke to them face to face. They saw Kriyas Yamsuf, all the plagues. How could King David say in Psalm 78, they ended their days with nothing? Avram, how could that be? They had the best koilel in the world. Who's a Rosh Koilel? Moshe and Aaron. Better Rosh Koilel, Moshe and Aaron? Better than the Lakewood, no? Right, Mrs. Fox? Moshe and Aaron. How could King David say in Psalm 78, Golda, they ended their days with Hevel? What's the answer, Avram? If you ain't got Pisgat Zev, if you ain't got Ashkelon, if you ain't got Eretz Yisrael, you have Hevel. Who says this? Mindel, don't look at me. King David, look at Psalm 78. He's speaking about the Dora Midbar, who God spoke to them face to face. And King David says they ended their days with nothingness. Why? Bila. Because they didn't have Talpiot. Are we getting this? Professor, are we getting this? King David. It's all Hevel. The Midbar Avram was the best of times, and it was also what? The worst of times. Ador Deya. God spoke to them face to face. They were hugged by 7 clouds, not one. Therefore, Sukkot is 7 days, Avi. 7 clouds hugged. And King David calls it Hevel because they didn't get Eretz Yisrael. Do we appreciate Chava? I know you do. Living in Kiryat Moshe every day, how we have to wake up. Now this idea is from last week's. Please give me, we still have 5 minutes. In last week's Parsha, which we had the books here, last week's Parsha speaks about the Chatzotzrot. It says you should blow the Chatzotzrot b'yom simchatchem. You should blow the Chatzotzros in the days of your joyous festivals. That's what the text says. But if you don't have the oral Torah, Chava, you're getting less than half the story. Comes along the Chinuch and the Rambam, It says, Afa pisha koseh batorah, you should blow the trumpets b'yom simcha. B'chol yom tokin b'migdosh. In the Migdash, they blew the chatzot srot every single day. So why say Yom Simchatchem? To mislead me? I'm a text man. The text says you should blow the trumpets b'yom Simchatchem mo'adechem, only on the days of what? Joyous festival. Comes along the Rambam and the Chinuch, men will say forget about it. Afal pisha koseh b'torah b'yom simcha b'chol yom tokin b'migdash. In the Migdash, they blew the trumpet every single day. What is the Rambam and Chinuch telling us? When you live in Eretz Yisrael, every day should be what? A joyous day. Joy to the world. Daniel. Rambam and Chinuch. And by the way, the word Migdash, the Rambam in Parsha Mishnayos Avram Masechta Rosh Hashanah says that the word Migdash refers to the whole city of Jerusalem. Professor. The Rambam in Parsha Mishnayos, chapter 4, Rosh Hashanah, that the word Migdash in the Talmud refers to the entire city of Jerusalem. We're all living in the Migdash. Who says so? The Rambam, Parsha Mishnayos, from Rosh Hashanah, Perik Dalet. So when you're living in Yerushalayim, in Eretz Yisrael, every day is a Yom Simcha. We should appreciate Alfie every single day. To have the schus to live here, and we should be happy about it. Let's quote a Zohar. We're over 40. We can talk a Zohar, Professor. I'm over 40. I can. Seems to be a contradiction. It says in Psalm 100, Ibdus Hashem b'simcha. You should serve God what? Simcha. There's another Psalm, Ibdus Hashem b'gil radah. Serve God in trembling and fear. So the Zohar says there's a contradiction. One place, King David says what? Serve God with simcha. Another place he says, serve God trembling in fear, which is the opposite of what? Simcha. Says the Zohar, Pashas Nosai Lo Stira. Kan be'eretz Yisrael, kan b'chutz la'aretz. Zohar Pashas Nosai. A lot of times the Zohar is not mystical. A lot of times the Zohar is a perish on Chumash, Rabbi. Sometimes it's mystical, but a lot of times it's a perish on Chumash or in Tanakh. So the Zohar says it's Stira. One place, King David said, Ivdal Shem b'simcha, Psalm 100. And in Psalm 2, he says, serve God in trembling and in fear, which is the opposite of simcha. Lo kasha. Kan b'chutz la'aretz, kan b'eretz Yisrael. In chutz la'aretz, you only can serve God trembling in fear. B'eretz Yisrael, you serve God b'simcha. So says the Zohar. Alfie. B'simcha. Mitzvah gedai liyas b'simcha, right? So we have to appreciate that we have the schus of what, Abraham? Living in Eretz Yisrael, and every day is Yom Simchaschem in Eretz Yisrael. So says the Rambam and the Chinuch, and the Migdash. And the Rambam said that the entire city of Jerusalem is called Migdash, Baruch Hashem. Any questions, comments? Sunday we have a shiur at 2 o'clock. It's called the 6 Remembrances. Why include Miriam's sin? Every morning we say the 6 remembrances, and one of them is to remember what Miriam sinned. But it's you're not allowed to remind about tshuva of his past sins. So how do we dare remind Miriam every day of her sin? She paid her price, she did tshuva. Yet every morning we remember Miriam's sin. How do we do that? It's against the law to remind about tshuva of his past mistakes. So why do we do it every morning? That's a cliffhanger, Sunday at 2 o'clock. Why remember Miriam's sin? And more important, what's the message for us?
For more of Rabbi Sprecher's teachings, visit rabbisprecher.com.